Welcome back to Dieu Han RV. Thank you for making time to join us today. We know life can be busy, so your presence here means the world to us. This channel has grown because of your love, your comments, and your support. Every click, every watch, every share, it all matters more than we can say. So please get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's step gently into the next chapter of Dieu Han's journey. By the way, what time is it where you are? And which part of the world are you watching from? Drop us a comment below. We truly read every single one and it means so much to us. We're building a community here, and your voice is part of it. Now, today's episode picks up right where things left off. They say heartbreak makes us stronger. But what if the one who promised forever left when everything collapsed, and trusted his best friend, only to be betrayed and robbed of everything? In that moment of despair, the woman he loved walked away too. Was it his failure, or her choice that truly broke him? She said she loved him, but love vanished when his bank account did. Than's best friend ran off with his last savings, and she ran after comfort and wealth. Now that Than has rebuilt his life, does he still carry the scar of her betrayal? Can love ever be trusted again after that? He lost everything in a single day. His trust, his savings, and the woman he thought was his future. They didn't even say goodbye, just left him with questions and silence. If you were Than, would you forgive her if she came back, or would you walk away too? It wasn't the money that broke him, it was the betrayal, from a friend he called brother, from a woman he thought would stay. Sometimes, pain doesn't come from strangers. It comes from those we love most. And when that love is sold for a price, what's left to believe in? If love only lasts while life is easy, is it ever love at all? Then learn this the hard way. The woman he trusted disappeared when trouble came. His best friend betrayed him first, and she followed. If this was your story, what would you have done? Sometimes the deepest scars are the ones no one can see. Than may smile today, but behind that calm is a heart that once shattered. Will he ever open it again? And if he does, will someone finally stay? If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Let us know in the comments, and stay with us to see what happens next. Before we go any further, let's take a moment to look back. There's someone in Than's past we haven't talked much about, someone who left behind questions, and a silence that still echoes. Today, we'll dig deeper into this mysterious figure. Her presence may be subtle, but her impact is undeniable. Let's uncover what clues she left behind, and why they matter now. She was there in the shadows of his past, not fully visible, but never truly gone. Some say her choices broke him, others say he was already breaking. Whatever the truth, Than changed after her. His walls grew higher, his smile became quieter, and yet, pieces of her still show up in his story, like a whisper behind each decision he makes. Many viewers have asked, who was she? What did she look like? The truth is, we've only seen glimpses. A soft voice, a silhouette by the window, a single photograph, now half burned. But today, we focus on one distinct feature, one you might have overlooked. The clue lies not in what she said, but in how she smiled. Her smile, striking, unforgettable, yet slightly unusual. A reverse bite, or as some call it, an underbite. Not something easily missed, but not something people talk about. It made her face look strong yet gentle, and in that smile, Than saw comfort once. Now, it may be the very detail that brings her back into this story. This image wasn't part of any new footage. It came from Than's memory, a faded, quiet moment replaying in his mind. But even in that stillness, her features stood out. The jawline, the underbite, the unmistakable curve of that smile. It matched the one we just saw, didn't it? Now the question isn't just who she was, but why she keeps resurfacing, especially now, when Than is opening his heart again. Funny how the past works, isn't it? Just when life seems calm, old names resurface, not as whispers, but like footsteps right outside the door. We've talked about her, but there's another shadow, one even closer. Lam, Than's friend, his mistake. The man who left scars deeper than betrayal itself. And if you thought she broke Than's heart, wait till you see what Lam did to his soul. Lam didn't just betray Than, he waited waited until Than had almost nothing left, then took the rest, money, trust, the last flicker of faith. And he didn't vanish after. No. People like Lamb don't disappear. They linger watching, smiling. Showing up again when your hands are finally steady, just to shake them. Now, both of them, the girl who left, and the friend who stayed too long, are floating back into Than's story, to ghosts from to wounds. And the worst part, they don't come knocking. They just let themselves in. So here's the real question. What happens when the past refuses to stay buried? Are we watching a love story? Or a warning? She didn't know her name, didn't even see her face clearly. But that day, in the back alley behind the old market, something felt familiar. The woman was digging through discarded clothes and cans, silent but swift. Her frame was small, her hair tied up, and when she looked up just for a second, Dieu Han froze. There was pain in that gaze, quiet, worn-out pain that Dieu Han recognized from the mirror. Could it be her, the girl from Than's past, the one who left when he needed her most? Dieu Han didn't dare ask. But there was something in the way that woman clutched the torn sweater. Something in how she avoided eye contact that made Dieu Han's chest tighten. Life has strange ways of bringing people full circle, and sometimes the people you never thought you'd meet again are the ones picking cans beside you. The woman said nothing. She just nodded politely, picked up her sack, and disappeared around the corner. But Dieu Han stood there, staring at the space she'd left behind. Was it guilt? Was it fate? Or just two strangers surviving in the same silence? Either way, something in Dieu Han's gut whispered this meeting meant more than she realized. And maybe Than deserved to. No. But how do you bring it up, hey? I think I saw someone who once shattered your life. How do you say that without reopening wounds? Dieu Han kept it to herself, but the image haunted her. Every time she looked at Than, she wondered, did he ever stop missing her? Or was she just a scar he wore quietly? Sometimes, silence holds the heaviest truths. And Dieu Han was now carrying both hers and his. There was a time when she had everything. Than's quiet love, a shared dream, but temptation knocked louder. A wealthy man, promises of a better life, a future without struggle. She chose the shortcut, left behind the man who once built her a home from nothing. And when Than's closest friend betrayed him, stole what little he had left, she was already gone. Not a goodbye, not a trace. Than was crushed, not just by the betrayal, but by how easily she walked away. He waited. Maybe she'd regret it. Maybe she'd come back. But the silence stretched for years, and Than rebuilt himself, brick by painful brick. She became a ghost in his story, one no one dared mention. But ghosts don't stay gone forever, especially when life begins to turn its wheel again. Now, years later, she may be paying the price. No fancy clothes, no chauffeur waiting, just a torn bag, faded sandals, and a silence that screams. Fate has a strange sense of justice. It doesn't always punish loudly, sometimes it just watches. And those who once laughed at the struggle may end up tasting the very dust they once kicked. Perhaps she didn't expect life to bring her this far down. Some would say it's karma, others would call it consequence. But Dieu Han, watching from afar, didn't feel anger, just a quiet ache, like watching someone walk into the fire they once lit. Life had humbled this woman, and maybe, just maybe, she now understands what Than lost that day. But the question remains, will she seek redemption, or will pride bury the past deeper than before? Than never asked for revenge, he only ever wanted peace. And now, as their paths seem to circle closer again, we must wonder, what happens when past pain and present regret finally meet under the same sky? There was a time she held Than's hand, promising they'd fight for the future together. But then came the debts, the pressure, the offer that promised more. One day, she vanished, no warning. No goodbye, just gone. Than was left with empty rooms and unfinished dreams. It wasn't just her leaving that broke him, it was the fact that she chose wealth over loyalty. And now, fate might be collecting its debt from her too. Rumors said she lived well for a while. New clothes, fine restaurants, a man with power beside her. But money fades faster than love, and power turns its back easily. One by one, everything slipped through her fingers, and when it did, There was no Then to return to. She had traded a soul for security, but security never stayed. Now she walks streets. No one sees her on. If you passed her now, you might not look twice. Worn shoes, calloused hands, eyes that don't meet yours. The years had not been kind, and choices always leave shadows. She carries her regrets like broken glass in her pocket, cutting a little deeper every time she remembers. This isn't karma. It's simply what happens when love is thrown away like loose change. People think choices disappear with time, but hers never did. It followed her into dark nights, whispered through the silence of empty rooms, and stared back in cracked mirrors. Once, she thought leaving then was strength. Now she knows it was fear dressed as freedom. Maybe this is her ending. Maybe she was meant to disappear into the background of Then's story. But fate isn't always that neat. Sometimes, the past crashes into the present when it's least welcome. And maybe, just maybe, she isn't done with Then's story yet, nor is he finished with hers. So here he is, heart bruised, hands calloused, eyes clearer than ever, looking at Dieu Han, wondering not if she'll stay, but if he has the courage to ask her to. Because healing isn't the absence of pain, it's choosing love despite it. And maybe this time, he's ready to choose. He was once betrayed by his best friend and abandoned by the woman he loved most. Now, as he quietly helps single mom Dieu Han rebuild her life, a hidden pain resurfaces. Will kindness be enough to heal old wounds? If this story touches you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell to follow every new chapter.